Good evening, and welcome to tonight's news. We have a packed show ahead, covering major developments in government policy, international trade, and law enforcement. A federal judge has challenged the legality of mass federal employee terminations, while President Trump is moving forward with new tariffs aimed at addressing the fentanyl crisis. Meanwhile, skyrocketing egg prices have prompted the Agriculture Department to take action, and Congress is advancing a spending bill with major economic implications. Plus, the Department of Justice has released new documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, and Mexico has extradited nearly 30 high-profile criminals to the U.S. Stay with us as we break down these top stories and more. A federal judge has ordered the Office of Personnel Management to rescind memos directing agencies to fire probationary employees, ruling that the guidance was likely unlawful. U.S. District Judge William Alsup determined that OPM lacked the authority to issue such directives, but stopped short of ordering agencies to halt terminations. The ruling applies only to agencies connected to the plaintiffs in the case, though Alsup urged the government to extend the notification to all federal agencies. The controversial directive had called for the dismissal of up to 200,000 probationary employees, reversing a previous memo that limited removals to poor performers. In response, agencies quickly began workforce reductions, with the Department of Homeland Security and the Environmental Protection Agency firing approximately 400 employees each, while the Interior Department terminated around 2,300. The Defense Department and other agencies are expected to follow suit. Danielle Leonard, representing the plaintiffs, called OPM's mandate a wholesale fraud on the federal workforce, arguing that employees were wrongfully told their terminations were performance-based. Assistant U.S. Attorney Kelsey Helen countered that OPM merely issued a request, not an order, and that agencies retain discretion in their employment decisions. The judge has scheduled an evidentiary hearing next month, where OPM Acting Director Charles Ezel will testify. In economic news, the Department of Agriculture has announced a 5-part initiative to combat rising egg prices, attributing the surge to avian flu outbreaks. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins stated that the department would invest up to $1 billion in response, with $500 million allocated to biosecurity measures for poultry farms. Officials are also exploring temporary egg imports to stabilize prices. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump has confirmed that tariffs on Mexican and Canadian imports will take effect on March 4th, alongside an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods. Trump cited the ongoing fentanyl crisis as justification for these trade measures, stating, "We cannot allow this scourge to continue to harm the USA." A White House official noted that while the administration acknowledges progress in curbing illegal migration, concerns remain regarding fentanyl-related deaths. Diplomatic discussions with Mexico, Canada, and China are scheduled to take place in Washington this week. On Capitol Hill, the U.S. House of Representatives has narrowly passed a multi-trillion-dollar spending bill backed by President Trump, with a 217-215 vote. The legislation extends and expands tax cuts originally implemented under Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, reducing taxes on domestic manufacturing, tips, overtime pay, and Social Security benefits. However, projections estimate that the total cost could push federal debt to as high as 149% of GDP by 2035. The bill proposes $2 trillion in spending cuts to offset costs, with critics arguing that deep reductions may impact social programs such as Medicaid. The bill now moves to the Senate, where it faces further negotiations and revisions. In other news, the Department of Justice has released Jeffrey Epstein-related documents that, despite public anticipation, provide little new information. Attorney General Pam Bondi had hyped the release as a major revelation, but the documents primarily confirm details already known from previous reports. The release includes an expanded version of Epstein's Little Black Book from the 1990s, listing 349 names, among them billionaire investor Carl Icahn, former Playboy CEO Christy Hefner, and Chris Cuomo's wife, Christina Greeven. A redacted list of 254 masseuses was also disclosed, with names blacked out to protect potential victims. Despite the limited revelations, Bondi has claimed that the FBI in New York is withholding additional documents. In a letter to FBI Director Patel, she demanded full disclosure of all Epstein-related records by the following morning, stating that there should be no withholdings or limitations on access. Lastly, Mexico has extradited 29 high-profile criminals to the United States. This follows the U.S. government's designation of several Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, a move that grants expanded legal and intelligence capabilities. Among those extradited are Miguel Ángel Zet-40, Trevino Morales, and Oscar Omar Zet-42, Trevino Morales, former leaders of Los Zetas, a cartel notorious for extreme violence. Also included is Rafael Caro Quintero, the drug lord responsible for the 1985 murder of DEA agent Enrique Kiki Camarena. The extradition marks a significant moment in U.S.-Mexico cooperation against organized crime, particularly as both nations navigate ongoing tensions over border security and drug trafficking. The U.S. is expected to leverage its expanded legal framework to intensify efforts against cartel operations. That's all for tonight's news update. Thank you for joining us. We'll continue to monitor these stories and bring you the latest developments. Stay safe, stay informed, and have a good night. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update.